Last-minute shake-up at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning, Ryan. Is okay with
And staying in front of the day isn't always as simple as 1, 2, 3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
What's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM 1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Master Instructor Roundtable. I'm Wendy Batts here with my friend and co-host, Dr. Marty Miller. Marty, how's it going?
Great, Wendy. How's everything up in Atlanta?
It's good. I know it looks like it's nighttime here, y'all. As you know, we're in the middle of the day, but I am in a severe storm warning going on. So sorry for the darkness in the background. But Marty, this is one of those podcasts that I get at this one question I get asked all the time. Can you really fix movement? So that is what we're going to talk about because, you know, Marty, I want to say yes and no.
It all depends, right?
It depends. We'll do the cat bear field. It depends. How about that?
Right.
So let's dive on in. So this week, what are we going to talk about? We're going to the promise of corrective exercise. Why do we even do it? I mean, obviously, if you've been with NASM or even if you're new to NASM, you know that we have a corrective exercise specialization. Marty and I have talked about it for many, many years. That to me, that has actually built my business more than anything. Because if I can look at someone's assessment and I know where to direct my focus on, it kind of brings us to the next point. Like, can you really fix it? And I'm not saying I can, quote, fix it, but I sure in the heck can make it a lot better. And so we're going to talk about what fixing really means. We're definitely just going to quickly talk about the 4 phases of corrective exercise. When we talk about the NASM continuum, we talk about why we do what we do in the order that we do it in, because it does matter, and what we can expect if we do implement this 4-phase continuum. And then, of course, as Marty has put in some of our other podcasts, I left this bullet point because I still think that it is 100% accurate. And you'll see at the end that NASM, the OPT model, still going to lead the way. And its purpose, its goal, the fact that it's evidence-based in research. So I left it in there because it actually fits here too.
Fits a lot of places. I love it.
Fits a lot of places.
So, let's talk first. What is corrective exercise and what it is not? So, Wendy, you remember when we rolled this out in 2004 or 5, how excited we were. And, I went to San Francisco to teach the first workshop with Rodney Korn. And, it's been 20 some years now. And at the time, no one talked about corrective exercise. People thought NASM was a little crazy. But when you look at Instagram, everyone's doing corrective. So we made it. We got there. So it's not just about foam rolling or physical therapy. What corrective exercise is it's a systematic process that'll help you identify and address movement dysfunctions, gives you a strategy to improve mobility, stability, and neuromuscular control. It is truly based on the corrective exercise continuum, which is evidence-based, which means it's been researched, where after your assessment, you're going to inhibit overactive tissue. So that's your foam rolling, massage guns, etc. Lengthen those same tissues that are overactive or short, tight through static stretching. Activate the functional antagonist to that, the opposite side of those muscles, and get those to wake up. And then you're going to integrate it back into normal training. So this is also a way to improve movement quality and support of strength, endurance, daily functions, any type of training you want to do. You could also look at it as a targeted warm-up, depending where somebody's fitness level is or where they're on their journey with their correctives. It's a very focused and client-centered and progressive, tailored to that individual, and allows them to meet their needs and goals.
Just a few things. Well, if we talk about what it is, we definitely have to talk about what it's not. And again, when Marty and I were talking about when we make jokes about it, because, and you've heard me say this in other podcasts, when I brought out a foam roller and I even saw it the first time myself, I'm like, what are we doing? I've never seen this, but that's why we were just already leading the way. So when you're thinking about what corrective exercise is and what it can do. Guys, I'm not a physical therapist. Unless you have gone to PT school and sat down and become a licensed physical therapist, there's no substitute for what they can do and what I'm doing. So we can't do physical therapy. It's not a substitute for medical treatment that someone needs. What we want to think about it, it's going to be more of a strategy, right? So we're looking to improve someone's range of motion and the way they move, their stability, neuromuscular control. That's the whole purpose of why we do what we do, obviously with a specific goal in mind. But corrective exercise isn't a one size fits all. And Marty and I have joked about this. Unfortunately, when somebody's come, they go to a physical therapist and they're not one of those individuals that have kind of molded into where we are today, they get this printout of this same stick person with the band doing certain things, and this is their take home. And so it's one of those things where it's not going to be one size fits all. Everybody's going to be different. We're looking for specifics in posture. So we're not trying to fix anything. We're just trying to make the quality better. And then if we also go back and we start looking at some of the other points here, we're not trying to fix an injured client, right? We're actually trying to make them better. So we're going to look at if they're injured, they need to go see a medical professional. We've talked about our scope of practice. However, if we notice that we have an athlete that maybe has a major compensation, corrective exercise can help them correct that by, as Marty said, that 4-point continuum. And then again, corrective exercise isn't the end goal. It's going to be your foundation. That's why when we talked about the model itself, it was 7 phases, with corrective exercise being phase number 1. It's that important. But because there was so much to it, that's why they pulled it off and made it a specialization, because it is very targeted and pinpointed before we get into what we know today as phase 1.
Yeah, I do correctives every day, like every single day, even if I'm not training that day, because, I've had some previous minor injuries. I lack a little external rotation in my left shoulder. If I maintain it and do my work, I have 0 problems and I can do any type of fitness program I want. If I skip it for 3 to 5 days because of travel or this, that, the other, I can tell that restriction is a little more prominent or pronounced, and I feel it a little differently. So I always view my correctives as you floss your teeth so you don't get gum disease, or you're going to treat the gum disease after you get it, right? We do flossing, hopefully, every day. So correctives can just simply be that 7 to 10 minutes of a targeted program that, is based on what you need, but get your assessments done because things change.
Always. So when we talk about the continuum, Marty kind of already hit on this. If you guys haven't taken your CES, I will tell you, it is one of the most beneficial courses that you can take, because it truly will help you identify more than, it's your quads, or more than it's just your hamstring. It can be like, I did this and tested this, and your popliteus is showing to be weak by doing a muscle activation. Or I can look at someone's range of motion and be like, okay, they're lacking internal rotation, by just quickly doing a mobility assessment. But once we've done those different types of assessments that they kind of showed us what to do in the book, then we can go into what Marty was saying. We can be very targeted. We can look at identifying and address exactly what was overactive versus it being just very generalized. And then we can target those results to improve movement quality. So we're trying to make sure that we're helping somebody move better, feel better, and perform better. And we do that by getting greater range of motion. And that's why when we're looking at the CES, how that actually fits into the whole model itself and our whole approach to working with a client. I mean, I hear this all the time. We want to change people's lives. We want to make them feel better about themselves. Well, what better way to make someone feel better about themselves, not just how they look, but if they actually wake up in the morning and they're not, aching and cracking and like in a ton of pain. I mean, that's my goal in life, is I want to get up and not hear myself make 1,000 different cracks or moan because I'm sore or there was something going on. So that's kind of the end goal for all clients, I think, especially as they age.
Everybody has their goals, Wendy. So thank you for sharing yours.
I try to be quiet, and they're like, yeah, I wake up my husband all the time. He's like, seriously? I'm like, dude, I'm just walking. Exactly. I don't know what to do.
Well, Wendy, before we go on to this next part, I want everyone to know that this episode of the Master Instructor Roundtable is brought to you by NASM 1. the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. Get the Edge Access schedule and program. Clients enjoy half off all certifications and specializations, including the CES, access to free CEUs and more. All this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM One. So see how I plug the CES in there, Wendy? It's important.
I mean, it is important.
And we're diehards. So as we go through the 4 phases of the continuum, so some misconceptions. Trainers can fix structural or clinical issues. Scoliosis, torn ligaments, chronic pain. No, that's not what it's designed for. On occasion, you might put together a great exercise program and things can change structurally, but that's not the goal. That would be a benefit of getting muscles to work well. But then, from a clarification standpoint, personal trainers are there to optimize movement within the scope of practice, not diagnose or treat medical conditions. And the important distinction here is fix implies permanence and medical authority. Improve or optimize aligns better with what fitness pros are here to do. So having that structured approach, helping clients move and feel better.
Yes. Stay within your scope. Sounds familiar, right?
I mean, I think we've talked about it before.
I mean, I'm just saying, but variability is normal. So no one's going to move perfect all the time. And this is, I think, sometimes when we confuse people, Marty, you and I confuse people, I know, all the time, because we tell people that if you do assessments, you're going to optimize movement. We say, yes, you're going to optimize movement. That is a fact if we are really focused and we're really honed in on improving range of motion. But it doesn't mean that when they come back, they may have gone back into different compensation patterns, because people that have crossed their legs their entire life, when they sit down, it's a hard habit to break. People's feet that externally rotate, the body is going to go back to the path of least resistance and what it knows. And so there might be slight external rotation, even though every time they're with me, I have put it in their brain, look at your feet, make sure they're straight ahead. Really try to think about taking a wallet out of your back pocket and putting a front wallet in, or making major changes. So just think that even though they have compensations, we've got to make them functional, right? They're going to have to move and do the best that they can. But if we really focus on quality of movement and changing the patterns that they know, those new patterns become a habit. And it just takes time. So when we say we're going to, quote, fix everyone and we're going to make them perfect, if they go and run a marathon, they're probably going to come back and not be perfect, right? Because they just put a ton of pounding on their body for 4-ish hours or so. So there's a difference between functional versus ideal. So the goal isn't perfect posture, but we're trying to make someone efficient. We're trying to make them move better and then have pain-free, if you will, pain-free, meaning they just want to be out of discomfort. Like, nobody wants to be in pain. Nobody wants to feel crummy all the time. So we also, as trainers, and this was hard for me, you have to be adaptable. And I say it's hard for me is because I always thought I could make everybody perfect and it was going to stand there. Like, that no matter what, it was going to stay. I was going to get it in their head and it's going to stay. And that's never going to be the case. It's never going to be the case, especially if you work with professional athletes, because of what they're doing on the court, on the field, or whatever it is, like whatever sport they're playing, wherever they're playing on. So we have to be adaptable. The bodies are going to have to adapt to the stresses. We're going to have to make sure that if somebody is in a compensation and they're in season, we have to minimize that compensation. But if that's all the body knows, we have to be careful. And we have to understand that every 4 to 6 weeks, the body is going to change. And I'm trying to find a solution to get us through what we're doing. And maybe it isn't a flaw. Same thing. If someone's born, Marty, with a defect, and I say a defect, meaning they have one leg that's longer, or they have scoliosis, or they were born with flat feet, that's a compensation that we're going to see in those overhead movements, right? But it's also something that I can't help because they can't help it either. So we're going to have to work around that. So when we say that it's not a flaw, it's like, okay, what are we going to have to do to work with what they have to try to make it better?
Right. We're just looking for progression, not perfect, because again, perfect may not be obtainable because of genetics, because of injury, because of fill in the blank. But we know unequivocally that if you follow an assessment into correctives, into a solid program, by the time that client's done, they're going to be moving better than they came in. But simultaneously, we know that if you ignore all this and just overload people, if we had a system, which there is out there, obviously I know that one, we could score you. You could be moving worse when you came in, when you left. The goal isn't to be moving worse after you're done training. It's to be moving better under load. And that, again, we take our car in to get realigned all the time to make sure that it performs better. Your body's no different. And your movement health is a snapshot in time based on what's going on in your life. But what we know is, like, I'll give you a perfect example. Is I told you about my left shoulder. It's always going to be there because I had a martial arts injury. My rib flare is going to always be there. But if I do my work, boy, oh boy, is it a lot better. And boy, oh boy, can I train a lot harder, a lot more aggressive and not get that pain in my rhomboid. But if for whatever reason I can't get it done, my neck gets tight, my rhomboid, I got that trigger point. So it's just do it or don't do it, pick your hard, right? So this is where, you're looking to get that person towards their optimal movement and then make wise decisions how you train them when they're moving to their level of optimal. And you can change it more long-term if you're diligent with it, and maybe they don't revert back as far. But the key point is that you're putting them on a program that makes sense for them and that you're getting them to progress in their movement quality.
Yes. So when we think about what corrective exercise can do, so again, we're going back to what we're trying to do overall. The end goal is to improve motor control, proprioception, and muscular coordination, right? Our body is made to move a certain way in all three planes of motion. So I'm trying to reduce any kind of movement inefficiencies that could lead to compensations, because when we know that over time, if we have compensations, it's extra stress that's placed on joints that didn't need to be there, that eventually can lead to discomfort or injury. So we're trying to help someone as a preventative to get to that point. So we want to make sure that we're telling our clients all the time, look at your posture. Ideally, we want you to stand this way. Ideally, I want you to sit this way. We know ideally this is what we want. It's just going to take time for someone to achieve that. So we want to teach them what we're hoping will happen, but it's also going to be up to them to, are they a chest breather? So I put breath in there because some people, including myself, when I was younger, I danced and I cheered and we had to keep our stomachs skinny. So we were not allowed to be belly breathers. We learned how to be chest breathers, and then trying to reduce that because it's not correct is really hard to do, really hard to do. So it's one of those things that I learned something at a young age because that's what we had to do for my quote sport. But then I know now that it caused a lot of misalignment. Things happened with my first rib. I'm not doing the diaphragmatic breathing correctly. So Michael Watts, if you guys have not listened to his podcast with us, you should go back because he talks about breathing. But it can also affect your joint alignment. So we want to be realistic with everything. We really want to help somebody with better squat mechanics. We want to try to reduce any kind of stiffness within any joint, but we put low back pain or low back because we know more people have pain in their back. We want to improve shoulder range of motion. Again, we want to be able to move. It's a very shallow joint, so we want to make sure that we're not causing excess stress. And then, of course, if the glutes are firing, that's our power, right? We know that if we have better recruitment of the glutes, and if you guys look at that solutions table, we're going to have better quality of movement and a lot of things that we're doing.
Well said, Wendy. I mean, I think that's the key outcome is let's get the body prepared for more challenging levels of fitness, whatever that is for that person. And let's take as much stress off the joints as possible. So, reframing the trainer's role. You're a movement coach, not a mechanic, right? That's a great way to think about it. Success isn't eliminating every compensation. You want to address every compensation as it fits in, but you're not going to eliminate all of them. The key thing we're going to ask you is not to ignore any of them, but you'll get, Wendy, you've heard me say there's the art of training and the science of training. This is where you kind of blend them together and say, hey, these exercises, it gets the arch activated in the foot, while I can activate the glute and keep them out of knee valgus. So that's the fun part of it. When we see these clients moving with greater ease and confidence, we should feel good about it and let them know that it is part of their fitness goals. It's not just about how many calories I burned and how much weight I moved, right? It's about how well I move. and then shift that goal in that mindset from fixing to enhancing their movement literacy, and tie it into any goal that they have, whether they want to lose weight, whether they want to gain weight, whether they want to run, whether they want to whatever, play with their grandkids. You can tie it first with, this is why we're working to move better.
Indeed. So Marty, I wanted to do this one because when you and I always have our conversations, Marty and I talk, and you've heard us talk about this, we talk super, super early in the mornings, usually when I'm driving to work and Marty is on a foam roller or doing his correctives. And we start talking about different topics or different situations that, oh, I had a client that just said this, or we talk about different things that are going on. And this was one that literally had a client ask me, can you fix movement? What we're doing, can you truly change the way that I move? And so that's one of the reasons for this episode. So the key takeaways is we don't fix people. We're just trying to guide them. We are the coach. As Marty said, we're not the mechanic, but we are the coach that's going to help them with the quality of movement by making them aware and then helping retrain the body correctly. Corrective exercise is not it's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. So we're not the rabbit, we're the turtle. If you guys remember that book from when you were babies, right? So we want to take it in stride. And as Marty said, if you see a bunch of compensations when you're doing an assessment, which you probably will in a lot of people, you're not going to be like, oh, and then just, throw up at the mouth. Like, we've got to work on this, 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 and this, and this. We're going to work on the bigger ones first, because over time, some of those smaller ones are going to clean up as we really focus in on the ones that are going to make the biggest impact. So you're going to have to think, long-term benefits are going to happen, but it happens when you're enhancing quality and making the client aware. The CES, so the corrective exercise, can be used with everyone, your elder clients, your youth. I mean, if you start the kids young and you teach them this stuff young, you're only going to make them faster, better, stronger for longer, because they already know and you're training the body on what to do correctly. And then remember the assessments. Do an assessment. Those are what takes the guesswork out. So get your blueprint and then guide your client correctly. Always start there.
Well said. Love it. I think that, we hopefully get a lot of information, kind of in a condensed manner, so that way people can kind of digest it. This is information you've heard, but hopefully in this format, you can really take some practical applications and put it into your clients' workouts tomorrow. So how would these amazing NASM professionals find you?
Yes, if you guys have any questions or want to just reach out to me, you can find me at wendy.batts@nasm.org, or you can find me on Instagram at wendy.batts13.
And my info is right here, dr.martymiller72 for Instagram, and then my email, marty.miller@nasm.org. Wendy, thanks for putting this together. I think that you nailed the topic. And like I said, any of you that have ideas, we'd love to hear from you. We've got a nice list coming up, but we'll audible if you throw something into the mix for us. So reach out, let us know. Thanks for watching today. And most importantly, we look forward to seeing you next week on the Master Instructor Roundtable.